We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone. She did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you.
Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Khani Wilshansky, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. Hello there, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. Today we are talking about you've built the systems, so why are you still the glue? When the systems are sound, but the soul is still on you. So the title in itself, I hope, is inviting for you to really be thinking about like, wow, what's going on here, right? Like, I've built all of these amazing systems. Everything feels so sound, but like the soul and the heartbeat is still so on me. And so today's conversation is for the leader who's done everything right. You've built every system, every checklist is in place, every SOP is written and documented and handed off and delegated. Your calendar is optimized and color-coded and structured. And yet, it still feels like you're holding everything together with sheer willpower. The team follows the steps, but only if you're watching and if there's like a drumbeat that you're beating to. They make progress, but only when you initiate or when there's some sort of crisis. And when you step back for long enough, things really start to slip. So your systems are very solid, but the soul of the school really still rests on you. And so if you've ever found yourself thinking, why does it feel so heavy if everything is quote unquote set up? Then this episode is for you. Because the truth that might feel really uncomfortable, especially if you love control and clarity and checklists. Oh, I see you. Systems create order, but they don't create ownership. Structure helps, but culture is what makes things stick. You can delegate work, but you cannot delegate trust. And until you build rhythms and rituals that carry the culture and vision of the center, your leadership will always be the glue that holds everything together. So let's dive into what this really means and let's unpack this. So let's start with just the limitation of systems. Guys, I want to zoom out for a moment. I want you to think about industries that run on incredibly complex systems like aviation. Airlines have checklists for everything: takeoff, landing, maintenance, safety protocols, communication. But pilots are also trained on other things: rhythm, the rhythm of communication with their co-pilot, the rhythm of managing focus under pressure, the rhythm of scanning instruments and making adjustments in real time. Because even in the best systems, they will break down if the people inside aren't in lockstep and in sync with each other. So let's bring this back to your school. Right? You can have opening procedures, curriculum maps, onboarding protocols. All of these are essentials, but systems are only as strong as the rhythms and rituals that hold them. And in most schools, the rhythm is you. That is why your team can't seem to figure it out without you. That's why they're not system dependent. They're you dependent. And you thought that with the system, now you would be able to remove yourself. But that's the part that so many leaders get wrong. It's not you didn't create enough systems. It's the school is holding on your rhythm and drumbeat. So let's talk about the invisible load that you're carrying, okay? Because I want to pause here for a moment, and this is so important. I know that basically every one of you that are listening are some version of a high performer or a detail-oriented leader, okay? And so you've built strong systems, you've trained a team, you've delegated tasks, and you're still exhausted. And so here's what I see inside of early childhood communities, conferences, events, other groups. School leaders are constantly sold, you just need a better system. Because you'll tell someone the system, be like, oh, but you didn't have this checklist. Add that checklist and it's going to be fine. No, it's not. Or your SOPs are not fully in place and in flow. Once they are, you're going to be good. What you're not recognizing is because you're still carrying the emotional and relational energy of the school, no system or SOP changes that. And so what happens is you believe that if you step back, everything will fall apart because you haven't yet built the trust-based rhythms that allow culture to breathe on its own. I'm going to say it again. You have not yet built the trust-based rhythms that allow the culture to breathe on its own. This isn't judgment. This isn't me blaming or shaming anyone. It is a mirror. And the shift begins when you realize that systems do keep things organized, and that is important. But rhythms keep people connected. And that's the difference between a school that operates because of you or a school that thrives without you at the center of everything. You want a school that doesn't operate because of you. One of our members who we've been working with for a while, she had a moment recently that really captures this so perfectly. She took off for spring break to spend time with her son. And when she returned, her team said, no one missed you. And now for some leaders, that would feel like a big ego hit. But for this client, it was a huge celebration because what happened is her absence didn't create chaos because she had really built rhythms that her team could rely on. They weren't panicking without her. They weren't texting her every hour. Their energy stayed steady. The team made decisions. The school kept running. That's what it looks like when culture isn't dependent on your presence. And the thing that happens so much, the lie that's sold in this industry is like, just create systems, hire people, delegate to them, and then you can have freedom. That is the biggest load of bullshit that's ever been sold in this industry. You can't just create a system and then delegate it. You build a system that is aligned with company values and vision. Once you build the system, now the system has to be implemented. Then the system breaks because it's the first time you're implementing it. So now you need to optimize it. Then you need to refine it and tweak it, make sure it's still aligned in the execution phase. Then it is strong enough for you to make a decision. Does this get automated? Does this get delegated? Does this get put into a drumbeat or a different rhythm or a ritual? People jump straight from, I hired someone, so I guess I could go to Aruba for 4 weeks. You're missing 70 steps in between. And it's not 70 steps that happen in 90 days. It's the course of several years. And we're not committed to the journey of excellence. We're committed to the journey of, let me build something so I can sell it and get out. There are podcasts called Build to Sell. There are organizations and companies that are called Build to Sell, where you build something to sell it. That's fantastic. That is not what Schools of Excellence is about. You're building sustainable legacy. Sustainable legacy. So let's continue this conversation of like why culture really needs rituals. So here's just a great analogy so you can understand this a little bit better. I talk about this often, how new relationships thrive on spontaneity. You feel like going out? Great, let's grab some dinner. Or, oh, we just did that because we were just in the mood. Long-term and healthy relationships are built on rituals, a weekly date night, a coffee in the morning together, an evening walk after the kids are in bed. Because you don't go on weekly date night because every week is magical. You go on weekly date night because it holds the relationship steady when life gets loud and messy. I'm going to say that again because it's really important for you to understand this. You do not go on weekly date night because every week is magical. You go on weekly date night because it holds the relationship steady when life gets loud and messy. That's what relationships do. They are not about the moment. They are about the commitment to return again and again and again and again. And your staff culture needs those rituals because most leaders are still living by vibes and mood. And that is immature. You do not write gratitude notes only when you feel inspired. You do not do classroom walkthroughs when there's time. You don't check in with staff only when someone's in crisis. And then you wonder why the culture feels inconsistent and why the team doesn't feel supported and why things fall apart when you're not around. You're not building a team. You're maintaining a machine and you're the one oiling every single part of it. That's not culture. That's not culture. Go back again to what I said earlier. Couples who want to be in long-term healthy relationships honor rituals because rituals hold the relationship steady. Mature leaders do not write gratitude notes when they're in the mood. They write gratitude notes because it's on their calendar. I've often given this example of, different shows, right? So you take a show, let's say Saturday Night Live, and this is not me endorsing that show. I'm using it to say an example, okay? Saturday Night Live does not go live on Saturday night because they're ready. They go live on Saturday night because it's Saturday night. So whether they're ready or not, whether the script is ready or not, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're going live because that's the time that you're supposed to go live. And when leaders operate from a place of, well, I didn't write the gratitude notes because I just wasn't feeling it. And I need to write gratitude from a very intuitive place. And I really need to feel the high vibes and energy. No, you're being immature. You're being a toddler. I really want to have this cookie, so I'm going to throw a tantrum. No, be a grown-up. Grown-ups write cards and write thank you notes and write and go and do one-on-ones and go and have difficult conversations because it's on their calendar, not because they're always in the mood. Whoever said you're always supposed to do something when you're in the mood? I'm not always in the mood to make breakfast. Does that mean that I send my kids to school without breakfast? Do you think I'm always in the mood to cook dinner? Find me a woman who is always in the mood to cook dinner. Find me a guy who's ever in the mood to cook dinner. Always in the mood to cook dinner. Who's always in the mood to sit and have a conversation with their 13-year-old daughter who has like 70 different drama points to share? You're not always in the mood. It doesn't matter. The act of starting the conversation gets you in the mood. You have to understand that you create the energy, not the other way around. Not the other way around. You're not always in the mood to do a lot of things. You're not always feeling it. Part of being a grown-up is sometimes you're doing things not because you're in the mood, but because this is what I've committed to. This is the ritual. This is the rhythm. Now people here saying like, oh my God, that's so stifling. I always have. No, that's you being immature again. Black and white thinking. I always have to do it, even when I have a high fever, even when I have COVID, even when I have the flu, then what the hell? No, if you have COVID and you have the flu and you're in bed, you don't write the thank you card. Now you're sick, so you're in bed. Right? So people love binary thinking because it's their way of saying, gotcha. You see, I told you it's not always. Stop being immature, be a grown up, be a mature adult. Those are the people that are listening to this conversation. And if you're listening to this and it's triggering you, you should probably not listen because this is a podcast for mature grown-ups. This is a podcast for people who are leaders, who understand that not everything is a binary decision, that deciding to have rituals is understanding that there's going to be discomfort. And that doesn't mean that you always push through the discomfort. Of course, there are moments where you use discernment and mature wisdom and say, now is not the time to do this. Not because I'm slacking off, not because I'm not in the mood, but because I really believe that I need to wait for tomorrow to have this conversation. Great, use your judgment. Use your discernment. But the issue is that so many people try to use this fancy intuition and discernment and all this like high vibe good feels way before they've even created any sort of discipline or structure in their life. No, discipline creates freedom. Discipline creates freedom. You want freedom? You want to have intuition? You want good vibes? Great. Start to create some structure and discipline in your life first. It's why in Schools of Excellence in our School Leadership HQ, the first trainings and curriculum that we walk our clients through is the leadership operating system. Not good vibes, not energy, not discernment. And I teach all of those things. But because that is not what you need to learn. First, you need to learn how to be a disciplined human being, not a teenager, not a toddler, a disciplined grown-up. And grown-ups do things even when they're not in the mood, even when they're not feeling the high vibes and the high frequency and the, butterflies and rainbows and the magical potions. Who cares? Do it anyways. So that's a big part that we have to understand when it comes to leadership. I'm going to tell you another story about a client, Pam. So Pam started a daily ritual at the end of every single day. She writes one note of appreciation or sends a voice memo before she leaves for the day. She stopped waiting to feel in the mood. She just did it every day. And over time, something shifted. And we were on a call recently and she said, now I started finding myself looking for things to appreciate throughout the day. The ritual changed her lens. The ritual of writing the thank you card is what changed her mood. Now she started to see good in her staff. She felt more connected. And she started to leave work on time with a full heart. So here's the thing. I tell this story to clients and they're like, writing a thank you card helped her leave work on time. People want to leave work on time. I'm like, what's your best productivity hack? What's your great time management tip? Nobody needs more time hacks or time management tips. She left not because her checklist was done. Her emotional energy was no longer scattered and leaking everywhere. That is not a productivity hack. That is a leadership transformation because rituals do not just change your schedule. They change the way how you see the world. They change the way you see the world. And so we live in a leadership culture that glorifies automation, efficiency, and delegation. I'm going to say that again. We live in a culture that glorifies automation, efficiency, and delegation. And those things matters. But when it comes to staff culture, you cannot automate emotional safety. You cannot systematize belonging. You cannot templatize trust. You cannot automate emotional safety. You cannot systematize belonging, and you cannot templatize trust. Culture is a rhythm. It is the heartbeat of your center. And if you're the only one keeping that beat alive, it's time to shift. If you are the school leader who has done the work, your systems are sound, your playbooks are built, and you still feel like you're the glue, here's what I need you to know. Here's what I need you to believe in your heart, in your soul, in your mind. You do not need to hustle harder. You do not need another SOP. You need rituals that build rhythm, and you need rhythms that build trust. And that is what I help leaders do inside Leadership HQ. And so if this episode sparked something for you, if you are ready to create a culture that runs on connection, not control, I invite you to apply to School Leadership HQ because your team does not need more of your presence, more of you. They need your leadership anchored in rhythm and rituals. And I want to help you build it together. So again, if you've built the systems and it still feels like the soul of your school is sitting on your shoulders, you are not behind. You do not need to catch up. You're missing the rhythm, and we help you build that. Thanks so much for joining me for today's conversation.
If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us.
If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen, the problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.